What's up, otakus? Short Guy here, and we're continuing with part two of my top 60 pickups of 2023. 2023 was a big year for comic book pickups. I feel like my collection really grew um, this past year. Not to say we were super focused, but I would say by the time summer rolled around, we were super focused. And I have my lapses where I'm just going to pick up stuff I like, um, or I've been picking up some doubles as well. I don't know why I keep doing that, but there are just some books that you run across, and for that price, it's like you just want to pick it up. And I really need to like be more disciplined and resist doing stuff like that, because I mean, it's all good if I'm able to like sell it or trade it away. Um, and there are some where like multiple copies, it feels like that's a good. It feels good to have multiples on some of these issues. Um, but for the most part, like if you keep if you have two of something, that just means you have less space for adding something you really want down the road. So that's yeah. I'm at a point in the collection where it's like it's coming down to space management. In fact, I moved some of the slabs that were in the filing cabinet. I moved them back here. You can kind of see them over here, um, which did afford me just about that much more stacking space for books. But yeah, space is becoming the number one issue, and I don't know. Um, I do need to. I have an overflow box of trade stuff, and I guess we'll get into some of the stuff on the trading block. I do want to trade. I'm fine to put together like a custom trade for people so that people get the books that they want. Um, but I'm also like building my own little bundles, and if people want to trade one or two books for those bundles, that's kind of where I'm at right now. But anyway, we'll get to that a little later in the program. We're gonna go through the list now. Now this is part two. Part one, we went through 60 through 41. Part two, we're gonna go through 40 through 21, and then the third part, the, uh, the last part in this series, we'll go over the top 20 pickups. So this is sort of the top 40 through 21 pickups. Hey Kenneth, what's up? Thanks for stopping in. And these are really like some of the heavy hitters in my collection. I feel like what I picked up this year, not to say what I had before wasn't significant, but there's just something about picking stuff up more recently rather than things you've held on to longer, that just feel you just a little bit more connected to and attached to. And that's kind of where I am with this list. Obviously, the top 20 is even more so, but this is a good reflection. And really, any one of these um, could also have made my top 20 list as well. But they're all really cool books. So we'll get into them. All right, we're going to start with number 40. And this was a book I picked up picked up a lot of books online, I gotta say. When you have a budget to play with, I'm just gonna there's a hair in here. Take that hair out. When you have a budget to play with, you obviously don't want to limit yourself to just picking stuff out at the LCS, or just trying to pick up stuff kind of randomly um, at a con or show. Um, so we're very strategic about what we wanted to pick up online. We wanted to pick up stuff for a good price and like targeted stuff. This is definitely one of those things. This is Demon Days Cursed Web. It's Midtown Comics, Peach Momoko signed version. So it's a Midtown Comics exclusive, and she signed it. So it's really just, yeah, I just love this spider, the design, everything about this cover. Why is there? Is that going to be better? There we go. Yeah, everything about this cover just is why we love Peach, right? Just the more intricate the designs are. And again, I just love how the ink kind of naturally creates this like dew effect on the webbing. Real cool stuff. All right, so that is number 40. I'm just going to count down. Number 39. I eventually want to get this signed by Peach. Yeah, if we ever meet Peach and we ever want to get one book signed, because we got a bunch of books we'd like to get signed. If we had to, kind of limit it to one, this would definitely be my choice, and that's the Demon Days X-Men #1, the design variant. She wrote all kinds of notes on this design. Just love her. Now, I'm a big fan of Jim Lee's Psylocke design. And that Psylocke design it's just a fan favorite, right? Everybody loves Psylocke because what's not to love? She just is so sexy in that. In the I don't even know, I guess they're like bands, thigh bands and arm bands. And the sleeveless, form-fitting leotard. It's super sexy with a PS. But and that's design has survived like 30 some years, right? But I do like, if we're gonna redesign Psylocke, and if we're gonna move forward with a new design, as much as I'd hate to say goodbye to that old design, this one for me works. But it's a period design, so obviously on a modern take of the character, this might not be the most practical. But man, does she just belt it out of the park with that design right there. Just everything, just so much thought put into this design. And yeah. Just brilliant Peaches with that particular design. And the story is really brilliant as well. Peach Momoko, it's interesting when you have And I'll probably put out a video on this at length, or sort of more broadly, covering the topic. But you, as an artist, if you have success, um, the biggest flattery of your talent is for other artists to copy what you do. And I'm not talking about like flat out stealing, like, you know, stealing your artwork, like literally copying you. But what I mean is like copying your style. And I guess a nicer way to put it is influencing other artists to adapt what you've created, what you've innovated, on the page into their work. And so there are a lot of people like Alex Ross, right? He trailblazed his style. There's a lot of people that kind of mimic that style. Jim Lee, I mean, Jim Lee pretty much created a generation of people who just draw like him. And Jim Lee is, you could argue that he's from the school of people like John Byrne and artists like that. So, it's a kind of a sequential or successional lineage of comic book artists, and they all kind of, you know, influence and affect how the industry moves forward. But yeah, definitely Peach. You see a lot of the artists at Marvel now, and I don't know if this is an editorial push or if it's the artists themselves that are doing it, but you see artists working in the Peach medium. They're doing the ink brush style, yeah, illustration. It's great to see, but and some of them are very very adept at it. But um, for me, it's there's just one artist in that medium, in that style, that stands out, and that's Peach. Every other artist just seems like they're just copying, which is fine. Um, I think it is something new for comic books. Um, it is limiting in ways, but at the same time, it has a very different feel from sort of the line work, on a print like this. Um, you've just got different, yeah, like the shading and everything is just a different feel. So um, I can't necessarily speak to whether I love Peach's work, but I don't want comic books to necessarily move all the way to this kind of medium, um, or this kind of rendering. Um, I would prefer like Jim Lee's style in that regard. I just think she's just a very talented artist, and I just like the fact that she's influencing a lot of artists to explore the brush pen of technique. But at the end of the day, like when it comes to comic books, we gotta. I would like it to be more of the old school format. But I digress. Anyway, number. Let's see, we did 40, 39. This is 38. Superman Unchained. This is the San Diego Comic Con exclusive. It's also a black and white, um, you know, inked sketch. Um, yeah, what's not to love about this cover, right? Just a great classic shot of Clark changing into Superman. Now, this is another book I want to get signed by Jim, but there's so many books I want to get signed by Jim. It's hard to, I mean, we've already got a set of books that we want, so just don't want to distract and focus on that first. Then hopefully someday we'll get to that. I'm thinking I'm gonna die before I get to all these signatures. But yeah, I mean, even if we don't get that signed, it'll still be a favorite in the collection. This one we picked up for $10 at Everett Comic. I think it's Everett Comics, or Emerald City Comics. It's one of those two. It's a shop up in Everett. I like going up there. And again, finding this was just like, I think, lucky on my part. Or maybe not. Maybe he knew it was a signed comic and he just put it in there for $10. But man, this book alone is $10. But to have a signed book for $10 is crazy. Pick this up for $10. It's a Marc Silvestri signed cover of the Goblin Queen. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of villains, I was talking about, the Psylocke costume design. And this one also is just a brilliant design by Silvestri there. You got the evil clone of Jean Grey there. The psychotic evil. I don't even want to say psychotic. She's just she's not all there. Let's just put it that way. And those are the scariest kind of people. People who aren't all there, who have like power. Like Putin. Putin's not all there, and he's running a whole damn country. I guess you could make the same argument for the U.S. There are just some people, we need to get some therapy before they lead stuff. All right, number 37. Moving. Oh no, we're on 36. Love this one. Absolutely love this one. This is X-Men Wildcats number 1, Silver Age. It's Jim. So there are two covers on this one. The A cover is Jim's. The B cover is Neil Adams. And I got the A cover here with Jim's 90 signature on there in gold. He was signing a lot of books in the 90s in gold. I don't know if he carried a gold pen around with him, or if that was like, if gold Sharpie was the latest thing in the 90s or whatever. But yeah, a lot of 90s gold signatures, which I love because it just pops. Just pops on a cover like this in the light. Beautiful grifter cover there. Jim doing what he does best. Boom. Just beautiful cover. All right. I'm going to lose count at this point. So just know that we're counting down. I think this is 35. This is a hot book. It's the first appearance of Maxwell Lord and Justice League number 1. And I really love this cover by Kevin McGuire. We got it signed at Emerald City Comic Con this year. Oh, sorry. This one is a book that we pulled out of Jeff's. So Jeff had this in his bin, priced at $10, which is 50% off. So I got this for $5. But then Jeff saw the signature and he's like, "Oh, that's worth more than what you're paying for it." And I was like, he's not gonna like reprice it at the counter. He's just kind of acknowledging, hey, I missed that one, you know. So you got lucky, and I did get lucky. $5 for a signed book there, pretty damn cool. So we didn't have to get this one signed. I did get sort of this counterpart team cover here, Justice League International. Is it 24? 24, signed by both McGuire and Rubenstein. Just a kind of cool book. But yeah, this is definitely like an awesome pickup from this year. And, um, I wasn't, I guess I shouldn't say I wasn't specking on it. I was kind of in the back of my mind specking on this to a degree. Um, with James Gunn and all the DCU stuff. I just hadn't. I kind of took a position saying like, yeah, I could see this particular series coming, but really, I was collecting in this era, and these are stories that were really cool back in the day. So for me to pick up, these were like 25 cent. These were in the 25 cent, 50 cent bins. You could find like an entire run of these for 50 cents in any comic book shop this year, right? Before like Gunn making all these announcements, um, sending this price up. So for me, it was just like, I like these books. I'm just going to pick them up. They're super cheap. Besides, Kevin McGuire was coming to town. I wanted to get some books for him to sign. And again, just a great run to collect. Um, Although I'm not going to collect the entire run. That it was something I was thinking of doing, and then I realized no, it's going to take up space. So I'm fine with just a few keys from this run, but we're not going to try to collect more than that. But definitely, like this one was a big pickup, and yeah, it's a hot book. Everybody's like clamoring to get it. All right, this is also something we picked up, and this is one I was targeting. It was on my actual list. I had a list of about 20 books, 10 to 20 books that we wanted to get at the end of the summer, with the budget we are saving. At the end of the summer, I wanted to say, okay, these 10 or these 20, there's like 10 or 15, I don't know, I forget the actual number. But we want to at least get these 10. We probably got half of what we had targeted. I know I didn't get G.I. Joe #1 or Transformers #1. Those were two on my list that we didn't get. We didn't get the Joker, Neil Adams cover, so that's 3. There were a couple that we didn't get. Part of it was due to we didn't run into it this summer, or at least we didn't run into it for the price we wanted. But definitely for the G.I. Joe and Transformers, I didn't run into it. Like even at the summer con, we were looking for it. None of the dealers had it. None of the shops had it. So just, I could buy it online, I guess. But that's something we'll target in 2024 for sure. But this one we targeted and we got, and that is Batman 428, A Death in the Family, where Jason Todd dies at the hands of the Joker. And it was something that, it was a fate that the fans decided. So I talk about Unmyeong, right? Unmyeong, your destiny, your fate. This is not Unmyeong in that sense, because it's like, I mean, technically it is, but Koreans would never use that word in this particular context, because DC gave fans a choice. You could choose for him to live or choose for him to die, and just put it up to a vote. Now, I remember calling and voting to keep him alive. but the community, and it was like a very narrow margin between alive and killing him. Um, but yeah, the killing him off people won, and thus you got this issue right here where he dies. Now, DC, the 30, fast forward 35 years now. Okay, it's the 35th anniversary of this particular release, and they just announced, or they just released this week or last week, they released the alternate ending because, because fans went this way. The story they had in the wings, because they had both both endings ready to publish, they vaulted that all, the other potential ending. They vaulted it, and Jim Starlin never got to, I don't know if he ever commented on it or what, but it stayed secret. Obviously, the other alternate endings where he lives, but we just don't know the details that come out, and the timeline, that the story that flows from Jason Todd living. A lot of people are glad that they killed Jason Todd off because we got the Red Hood, right? And I've seen comments where, yeah, because we killed him off, now we have the Red Hood, another great villain, and all this. But it would be interesting to see, like, what had Jason Todd lived, what would that timeline, what would it have looked like? I'm sure at some point he would have given up the mantle of Robin, maybe become like the second Nightwing, or who knows? But those are all questions that won't get resolved. But anyway, we picked up the Robin Lives, and it's cool that they kept the same Mignola cover, right? But you have here, first of all, from the DC Vault, and then you got Robin Lives, and then the shocking alternate ending that you were never allowed to see until now. So, yeah, I'm interested to read it, and we'll do it at some point. But I was always curious as to what happened, what would have happened. Now, I don't think there'll be too much revealed. They'll just probably reveal, hey, he lived, and then do some of that aftermath stuff where he's recovering, and then, there's some probably conversation around, how close he was to death and how this will affect him moving forward. Like, how will he recover psychologically, physically, and all that? So, I'm sure there's a lot of story around that, not too much pointing to, what's going to come next. But that's okay. I mean, that's kind of what we envisioned the story to be anyway. It's really just does he survive or doesn't he survive? And he survives. So just sort of that exhale of, yeah, you get to see more of Robin. But it's kind of like, I do want to focus on this. This is the book in our list. This is pretty. I want to tie them together though, but definitely this was the focus of our pickup this summer. Had nothing to do with, this book was announced just about a month ago or so. We just love this Death in the Family story. This was the, kind of like that prime peak period when I was getting into Jim Lee, Batman, and all the just comic books were just so hard hitting and gripping. And, this was the age of like the, Silvestri, Lee, Liefeld, McFarland, Starlin, just so much good stuff coming out. Anyway, yeah, had to have it in the collection for sure. All right, and this next pickup is related to it. It's the trade paperback. This is the first print of A Death in the Family, so it's all 4 issues in one trade paperback. And this has been published in multiple printings, but this is the first one. We've got the great, you got this great Jim Aparo cover here with Robin, the death of Robin there, and it was controversial because of the violent nature of the story. But anyway, I went to Grid City just like 2 months ago with my comic pro Naman Young, and I found this book just sitting there. The guy had it for $4 a signed copy, Starlin signed, first print, Death in the Family trade paperback. $4 for a signed book, and I was just like, "That's mine." Now, I mean, it was red, but I mean, there aren't like creases. They're just some like wear on the spine a little bit. It's a beautiful book, and again, it's signed by Starlin there at the top. This was like just one of the best pickups ever. And really just like, it just felt as significant as this copy here, picking it up. So just really, really, really lucky to have picked up both of these books this year. But we're not done. We're still counting them down here. What's up, Miss So? Hope you're having a great Christmas weekend. I want to take a little pause here. First of all, acknowledge people in the chat. Hope you guys are enjoying your Christmas weekend. As you know, my wife and son, they took off for this kind of excursion into this Christmas light display up north, and they went with some friends and then stayed over and came back probably midday today. So it was kind of, the house was empty. The weekend kind of got started off just by myself. But yeah, they came home. I played with my son all afternoon. We had dinner, and then now he's off to bed. So things will start ramping up. Obviously, Mondays, we're all excited about. We'll exchange the gifts, and Leo'll get to unwrap his Christmas gifts. I'm not completely confident what we got him. My wife kind of did it all herself, which is good. But sometimes I know what Leo wants probably better than her, but she ends up getting him what she wants, and so we'll see. If it's just one of those things where like he should get some stuff and he doesn't play with it, it's like, at least the stuff I get him, he'll play with for sure. It's always that case. So she bought him a bunch of toys in Japan. He doesn't even play with those anymore. The little things I buy him, like the Matchbox, the Hot Wheels cars and stuff, he just plays with that all day. Legos, plays with that. Actually, Legos, he's not into Legos yet. he'll play with the built Legos, but he doesn't like building them. I think it's just he's too young. But when he starts, you know, uh, having a little bit more dexterity, I guess, and patience to build stuff out, he'll get into that. That's for sure. That is for sure. We'll try to hang on to all of it. He does a good job of, you know, breaking toys in for sure. All the cars that we get him, they've all got little nicks and scratches on them from crashing them and stuff. So, all right. But yeah, hope everyone's having a great holiday weekend. I got to tune into shout out to Fanboy Prime. I got to sit in on his sort of Christmas weekend show this morning. Just a great time. They were just doing some Santa, like best like Christmas song or favorite Christmas songs, Christmas movies, all the Christmas themed stuff. It was a good time. And yeah, he and Lady Prime, they just make such a good husband and wife YouTube team. It's great. We even got an appearance by Ollie. So it definitely felt more like Christmas after watching that. I was just like, yeah, okay, starting to get into that holiday mood. And then right after we tuned into Brian's show, he had Trev on, he had Mike, he had Neil. No, who do you have on? He had I'm forgetting his name, but um, he had a panel of and Madam Blaster. He had a panel of people on, all great community members. That was another great show. Also going over like different Christmas topics. So yeah, all in all, those two programs, just seeing the community kind of like come together during holidays felt festive. And that's kind of what Christmas is all about, right? Just at end of the year, hey, looking forward to next year, kind of taking stock of what happened this past year, sort of counting the blessings. And if it was a year where you struggled, you acknowledge that as well. But uh, you know, um, if you struggled, you kind of take a pause, reflect on that struggle, and then just have some hope looking forward to a brighter, better year. So yeah, thanks to the community members for continuing to um, you know put out content and um, stay engaged with the community during this holiday time and spreading the joy and cheer. That's really what it comes down to. So Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll continue down the list. So I've lost count. I have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd say I have about a good 10, 11 books left. So we're somewhere in the mid to low 30s. This book came to me via a trade, and don't ask me to recall what I traded, but I just remember, being very happy with the trade. But this is a big book. This is a book that I had when I was collecting. So I bought and read when I was collecting, and we had it as sort of like a marquee Wolverine 1 in our collection. And then, the collection, I have a few books from the collection, but a lot of my collection just got misplaced or lost or maybe stolen or something. But um, yeah, the parents didn't have the books anymore. But we got this one back. So Wolverine #1, absolute. Uh, I don't even know. But I mean, it's so iconic. This series. It's a lot more violent. Um, he's rogue, so he's just uh, kind of just kicking butt he's unleashed basically, and he's just kicking butt. Um, but then what's really cool about this series is you learn little bits and pieces of his past as well. So that's what I think people loved about this. Is like you have this character where we were learning more and more about him, but we didn't completely understand where he came from or what had happened to him. And obviously more details of his origin and stuff came out during this, right around and after the fact of this solo series. But yeah, man, um, love that I got this in the newsstand. This is a 9.8 worthy candidate, and I may send it into CGC, but um, I may not, because for me, having it in this my version of the slab, which is a Mylar clear backing board and this rigid top loader, it's preserved in this now. Okay, so in terms of having that, the preservation aspect, that's off the board. The other thing is like adding that grade, right? Having that grade there. Well, I feel like I'm at a point where I'm pretty good. I feel like I mean, I'm not like I can get a magnifying glass or I can get a black light. I can do all the things the CGC does. Um, I can do that, but I feel like I don't have to. I can just visually look at this sharp corners, nowhere along the spine, no creases, really no visible defects outside of little, like very minor dings and stuff, which is what falls into the 9.8. I can say it's a near mint copy without having to, without getting into the numerical grading of it. I can just say it's a near mint copy. Um, and so why would I send it in? Why would I pay $50? Because that's kind of what it's going for now these days, right? I think it's $30. $30 to have someone say, "Oh yeah, this is a 9.8," when, or probably a 9.6, right? You send it in, they'll say it's a 9.6. Big whoop, 9.6, 9.8. It's near mint. So this sort of now the reason I'm talking about this in this context is because CGC, there's been a little bit of a controversy with them. They've been reholdering books without doing their due diligence on whether the books that are being reholdered are the actual books that were submitted earlier. So, and it's just a money grab, right? They're like, "Hey, this is free money. We're just reholdering them. We're selling these like plastic slabs. We don't have to really do a lot of work. So don't spend a lot of man hours. Just take the comic, reslab it, put a new label in, and we get that reholdering fee." And they've been doing this for I think about a decade, where these sort of bad apple sellers were taking advantage of that system, taking out 9.8 books, putting in like resubmitting like a from a lower grade book, something that wasn't too low grade, but something in the nines, right? No one's going to really know the difference. And saying, hey, I got a cracked case or something, resubmitting it, and then CGC just saying, because they have that service, they're just okay, beholdering, boom, same comic book, there you go. When it's a completely different book, and then these sellers have been reselling it at the 9.8 price. So if you've bought a 9.8 CGC book, which a lot of you have, I haven't, I have not. I bought one 9.8 in my entire life, and it's a signed book, and I combed over that book. It's a 9.8 for sure, but I don't buy 9.8s because of the exorbitant price, the premium that people put on the 9.8s. Well, it's all come crashing down. I mean, this is really going to impact the market just because you don't know the 9.8. I mean, you can try to do a visual, right? But if you were to resubmit that book, would it come back a 9.8 by their standards? So that's what that's saying is you probably got a book that's been messed with. Okay. And this was a huge, I mean, obviously CGC is going to respond. They're going to probably take more action to be more diligent about this whole reholdering process, maybe cancel reholdering altogether. I think that would be a good idea, just to cancel or have some kind of, that's in a inner film. They have to either, somehow, and it's going to cost more money if you have to add some kind of security element or marker to that film. And if the film gets altered in any way, then the reholdering can happen, and you just have to recreate it at that point. So they've got to make all kinds of whatchamacallit. I mean, the film itself, I think, is an issue because you could probably cut along it and re-glue it, and have that, and CGC then would then cut into it, take out the comic, right? Thinking, hey, this is just there's nothing, the film wasn't impacted. I think this is how they were getting away with it, right? They were probably making some kind of top incision where they switch out the books and then glue that portion back, and then CGC looks at it and says, oh, wasn't altered in any way. So they kind of reholder the entire thing. That is really the issue, right? It's a quality control issue in the reholding process. So a couple scenarios are going to come out of this. One is they're going to make reholdering they're going to put a lot more scrutiny into the reholdering. So it's going to drive up costs for sure. And if not initially, over the long run, because this is a process thing. They have to add people, they have to add components to the process. That's just going to drive up the cost eventually. So expect higher fees for grading. The other thing is it's going to just kill the resale market on slabs. So a bunch of people who are honest sellers, when they submit 9.8s and all that, they now have to convince buyers, hey, these are things I submitted, I can vouch for these, and convince them that this isn't like questionable inventory. And the sellers have to look over their inventory and figure out if their books are legit or not. So in the short term, it's going to kill the 9.8 market. I can't see any reasonable buyer going out and buying a 9.8 slab, even if they've combed through it, but being confident that that's the book, that's the grade that the book is advertising, right? So yeah, I feel bad for anybody with one of these books. If you've purchased a 9.8 and you paid an exorbitant amount for it, thinking that was a 9.8 grade, but it's actually like closer to a 9.0, 9.2. And we see instances of this all the time. Like you see a slab, right? It's a 9.8. Hey, but there's a little nick here. Why is this a 9.8? Well, you got your answer. Was it CGC reholdering process that got compromised? I'm pissed off because CGC, I have a 9.8 that they graded an 8.0. I mean, I come over this thing. There's nothing wrong with this book. And they mentioned in the notes that there's a small crease. There's no crease whatsoever. I'm just like, so for me, I've had a really bad experience with CGC because they're not quick to give out 9.8s, first of all. And some of the grading is just really questionable. And it just wasn't a good experience for me sending all these books, paying for all this service. For what? Just to know that, yeah, these are near mint books or these are VF books. Like just getting the validation that I already knew going in what the grade, kind of where that grade was. So I am perfectly content to take something like this, put my own like 9.6, 9.8 label or near mint sticker and just have it at that and just have it lower in value, right? This is still a $200 book to me, $200 book to me. Having the 9.8 on there in the previous scenario made it maybe a $500 book. But in the market now, with the information we have now, 9.8s are not, it just killed, it's Josh's comic books. He put out a great series of posts on this. And I commented on his post that this is going to kill the 9.8 market. He kind of disagreed. He doesn't think it's going to kill the slab market. But how can you say it wouldn't? Like, you got to buy. I mean, obviously, I wasn't in the slab market to begin with. I was always in the get your own books raw, grade them raw, and take your chances. And I never put stock in 9.8 grades anyway. I don't think having a 9.8 suddenly makes it like 10 times more valuable. This is something the sports card market kind of put a premium on. No scratches, and you got to look with a magnifying lens to see if it's like the corners are super sharp and all that. It's like BS. Let's do a freaking eye test, man. That's all you have to do. They're just trying to drive up value on a service and products and stuff. So I hope, to be honest, if it kills the CGC market, it's fine by me. I don't think it will kill it altogether, but I think it will damage the values. Like, people are not going to value 9.8s. Some guy in Florida with a little, magnifying monocle who looks over your books, they're going to put less stock into what that guy says and more stock into learning to grade and grading your own books. That's the hobby, right? If you can't do that, you shouldn't be a comic book collector. If you're relying on like sellers to tell you it's a near mint book, it's a 9.8 candidate and all this garbage, then, you're a lazy collector. There, I said it. Do your due diligence, man. This is a hobby. And for you to be a collector means you have to learn the hobby. The hobby is, if you're going to get into grading, if you're going to put books on a scale, right? Learn that grading scale. And then you'll save yourself a lot of heartache and, seriously, like this book here, that to me still is a 9.8. I don't care what CGC says. That is a 9.8. I'll invite you to my house and you can go over it with me. And you tell me where the flaws are. Absolutely like surface level. It's a flawless book. So I don't know what the frick they're talking about. CGC can get it wrong, and they do get it wrong from time to time. All right, so that's my CGC rant. We're going to continue on. So all of these are near mint copies. And by near mint, I just mean they're in the nines, right, by CGC standards. And this one was a very special pickup. Another one we targeted, had to get, and that is Wonder Woman #1. I mean, the book speaks for itself. Why you need this book. It's a wraparound, so I'm going to turn it around and show you the back. Just beautiful George Perez art. Yeah. So, yeah, this is just one of my favorite books in the collection. This will never, I had thought about grading all of these, and in this current context, well, the good thing about sending in to get your books graded, you know the grades are what they say they are, right? So if you are gonna, I guess, if you want slabbed books, I don't think, you don't necessarily have to reach out to a seller to get the books. You can always do the hunt, submit, pay the money, and then get that slabbed book. That's fun. It is fun to do that. I had fun. Well, I should say I had fun. I had fun up until the books came. It's like, oh yeah, it's fun. Let's submit books. Oh, what are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? And I was expecting a 9.8. Oh, a 9.4 or a 9.2. Like that was not fun. But what is fun is get it, like going on the hunt, getting a book raw. And I think for me now, moving forward, and this is it's a weight off my shoulders, actually, is, just be content with having it preserved in my version of the slab. And we'll probably put a sticker or something on here, right? I really like Na Man-hyung's approach. He makes his own slabs. It makes his own label, puts his own grade on there. I wouldn't trust Na Man-hyung to grade my books, but I would trust him to slab it and preserve it, because his slab it's a very sturdy, kind of rock solid protection for it. So I did ask him to slab some of my books, which he never got around to doing. So that's fine. He's a busy guy. But yeah, I'm still waiting on some Na Man-hyung slabs. I just think that'd be cool to have in my collection. What we call it? A NGC, non-graded collectible. Here's another near mint book. This one's actually it's like probably a 9.0. I don't want to say it's an 8.5 because it is better than an 8.5, but there's like one little spine tick there. And that's about it. I mean, this could very well still be like a 9.6. But I'm thinking around the 9.2, somewhere in that range. But we picked up New Mutants 87, first appearance of Cable. Classic Rob Liefeld cover there. And really a character that should be, Cable really should be a character that is on par with Wolverine, Cyclops, and like at least, on par with Deadpool, at least in terms of popularity. But for some reason, he's just not there yet. But when if you were collecting in this era, Cable was the man, right? Like X-Force, Cable, uh, anything where he was making an appearance in the other X-Men titles, you just wanted to read it all because of how badass he was. So it's kind of, it's kind of weird to see that Cable is just, I don't know, he's just not as mainstream as some of these other characters who have come after him are, Deadpool being one of them. So anyway, for me, having this first issue is just huge because, again, I think there's potential for Cable to eventually get there. I know among comic book fans of my generation, Cable's still the man. Sure, at some point the younger kids will see that too. All right, first appearance of Cable. So we got some pretty awesome books so far. Okay, but we're getting into more of the sort of the classic books here. This one is a book that is in rough shape. I put it in the VG category, and that is Batman 243, Neil Adams cover, Damian O'Neil story. You can see it's in rough shape. It's got like creases there. It needs to be pressed. This is not a book we sent to Roger to get pressed, so it could improve with a press. But overall, it's got a corner creases here. It's got a big crease across the top. Some spine wear, but it's a complete book, and I just love it. Got the incredible Neil Adams art, classic, iconic cover. I think I paid like $20 for this. So yeah, got a really good deal on it. And it's just one of my favorite Neil Adams Batman books in the collection. This one has this one's probably like a fine copy, fine plus. I mean, it's a really, it looks great. It's got a couple spine issues, maybe a little bit of a miswrap. You can see the miswrap there. And the real big issue is the corner. So I'll just show it to you. It looks like it's in really high grade. But then if you go right to the corner there, you'll see, I don't know if you can see it. You see that color breaking crease right there in the corner. Right here. You can see it right there. Getting closer. There you go. You see it? And that would probably just drop it. So like, even if that wasn't there, it'd be in the VF plus range just because of, the corners. They are sharp, but they're just, I don't know. They're not like, I guess they're sharp enough. There's just this like, wear that comes with age. Like you can see there's some edge issues as well. So this would definitely be like VF. If that corner crease was not there, it'd be a VF plus copy. But with that there, it'd probably drop it to, like, again, like I said, like a fine plus, maybe a 7.0, somewhere in that range, which is fine. $50. We paid $50 for that. This next one is a book we sent into Roger. Shout out to Roger if you're watching. And he always just does it such a thoughtful, meticulous approach with the books. And this one had issues, the spine was like, it was kind of torn apart. The cover was just barely hanging on. It had water damage. It was really dirty and all that. And really, like, the water damage was like really evident here in this corner. It was like browned. But he worked on it. He kind of reshaped it, flattened it, pressed it. He also washed the cover to get all the water, dirt in the comic book out. And now, so if you look in this top section, it looks absolutely flawless, like a high grade book. Just when you get to the spine and all this, you can see the damage here along the spine. I mean, that's what kind of puts it into the low grade. This is definitely a good, in the good, I don't know, maybe VG, because of the top, it just pops and presents so well. But yeah, I mean, it's a low grade copy for sure. But man, does it present really beautifully. It presents like a mid-grade book, but when you just comb over it, there's just too many flaws with this to be considered anything less than low grade. But yeah, this was a book we picked up for like $30 as well. First Mary Jane cover, first kiss between Gwen and Peter. That's is a key book right there. And of course, the John Romita Sr. art. Beautiful John Romita Sr. art. All right. Speaking of beautiful John Romita Sr. art, this was like an iconic cover. This was not pressed or anything. It'd be great to get Roger to work on this book, because I really think he could make this look a lot better than it is. But we'll see. That is ASM 56. And another great John Romita Sr. cover here, Doc Ock. And yeah, cover speaks for itself. Just classic newspaper headline there. Says it all. Spidey joins Doc Ock. Superhero turns bad. And you're just like, whoa, what's going on here? Yeah. Shout out to Destiny City Comics, which is where I bought this book. I got it for $40, I think, somewhere in that range. And absolutely love it. Yeah, I mean, this is in the VG range. There's a little chip in the corner, but no major creasing. Spine still intact. Just wear and stress from the age of the book. A little bit of a kind of like it's misshapen in the back a little bit, so it has to, again, it could benefit from a clean and press, and I think Roger could get this looking really, really, really sharp, especially with his cleaning technique. He can get, because it looks rather dull But if you were to like, I don't know, run the distilled water through it, I think you get a lot of that silt out of the white and have the white pop as well as the yellow and everything else. Um, I'm just afraid to do it because I could do like a washing, just like a rub with the cotton pad and just get that surface residue off. I can do that. It's just I don't want to accidentally mishandle and such a fragile book. I mean, it's like that chip is very. It's just it says a lot when you get a corner chip like that to just leave the book alone in terms of handling. So we're just happy to have it like this. It's preserved. It's in an otaku slab. I'm just gonna call these things otaku slabs from now. It's in an otaku slab. Well, not much more we need to do with that book. All right, we're just counting down the hits. Counting down the hits. Our next hit is iconic Neal Adams cover here. We previously saw Batman 243. Well, next issue 244. Nice Ra's al Ghul, Neal Adams cover. Batman, he is got his looks like he got his suit ripped off. But yeah, again, this is VF copy. This is one Roger did work on. So it's I don't know. This is the good VG range. Low grade book though. He pressed it, he cleaned it, and it looks just a lot sharper than it did before. Especially along the spine section, because it was like there was a split spine, but he kind of reshaped it and pressed it, and it looks like it's connected now. Like you wouldn't be able to tell there's a split unless you look like at the back and that section there. From the front, you couldn't really tell. So that's what I really appreciate about Roger having worked on this book. He knew that's what, in terms of the presentation, you'd want to minimize that specific issue. And again, he just like, without the cleaning and stuff on this book, it just looks spectacular. Yeah. This is what they mean by presents well. It's a low grade book that presents well. And man, does it present well. There you get a good shot right there. Boom. All right. So just again, big pickups. These this book wasn't a book I was targeting per se, but I got it for like in the $40 range. So I feel like I lucked out with that pickup. All right, this one we picked up. We paid a pretty penny for this one. I paid $120 from Amazing Heroes, which is here in Kirkland. The guy he has a shop, but he only opens by appointment. So you have to say, hey, I'd like to come to your shop, and he'll meet you there. But otherwise, he's just a pretty well-known reseller. He dabbles a lot in slabs. He dabbles a lot in raw books, but he kind of just prices everything to what he deems the value to be. And I gotta admit, he does a fair evaluation and grading, and like if you're new to the hobby and you don't know that stuff and you were to go to him, Um, he's the kind of person who'd just give you like an honest evaluation and sell you the book for, or price it for what it's graded and valued at, book value wise or graded value wise, and then maybe give you a little bit of a discount off of that. And that's what we got here. This is, I mean, he's saying mid grade. It is a mid grade book, but I don't know. I think under the right, if I was to get this graded under the right grader, we might get like a 6.60, 6.5 um, out of this grade. It's an absolute, it just looks stunning. Get it in the light there so you can just compare. Like, I've got a low grade version of this book. I'll show you. I'll just compare it. So here's a low grade version of the book that I got. I paid like $50 for this one, I think. 40 or 50 for this one. And I paid a 120 for the higher grade. So as you can see, just comparing the back, low grade, high grade, or higher grade. And then the front, because of the black, I don't even have to tell you which one's a low grade, which one's high grade. You can just see how this one just pops. This one just got all kinds of issues. Creases, wear, fading. Not too bad though. But yeah, this one just is hands down the better grade. Even look at the spine there. Look at this spine here. All kinds of issues there. But here, not as much. Right? So yeah, you know, I picked this book up and then a few months later, we got the sad news that Romita Sr. had passed. And yeah, I mean, when I look at this book, I'll just remember that the year I picked it up, 2023, was the year we lost one of the legends of the industry. Definitely my favorite book by cover art by Romita Sr. And I have 2 copies of the book. I probably, if I can pick up a higher grade, I mean, this is fine. This is fine. But if I can pick up a really, really high grade copy of this book, which I probably won't be able to, this book is just spiked this year for obvious reason. But if I can pick up a higher grade of that at some point, I would love to. Or at least pick up more Romita Sr. covers. What was it? Like 49 or 39. I want to pick up 39. That's a pretty iconic cover as well. All right, so we're getting down to the last three books. Now, the next is not really a book, and it's not really a pickup. It was gifted to us. As you know, Norin Rad and I got, we did a trade, a comic book trade where I sent him some books, and then he sent me some Jim Lee, some older books, and anyway, we did a trade where we were both happy with what we got. I sent him some keys. He sent me some nice like Peach Momoko Jim Lee books, and he threw in this print that he did, which is just fabulous. He really did an amazing job. Now he knows I like Psylocke, so he put. I don't know if he had this print, like if he had produced the print. Yeah, I mean he didn't. I don't think I didn't commission him or do anything of that nature. So he had it already. He had it already in his possession. So not something he put together just specifically for the trade. But yeah, he threw it in, and it's just this awesome print of Psylocke, care of Norin Rad. So thanks, bro. You knocked it out of the park with this Psylocke. Just so mesmerizing. Beautiful rendition. Love it. Love the colors. The side blade. Yeah, spot on design work as well. Bam. The next book was gifted by Naman Young on our most recent get together, and this book went through a really how do I say it? Like it just went through an intensive process to get to me. Okay, so he purchased the book. He sent it to Ryan Odagawa to get it signed, had it returned to him. He went to Baltimore Con to get it signed by Mike Grell, which, a signature he paid for. And then he drove cross country, he had it in his possession for months, drove cross country to Washington, and then hand delivered it. And it's a key issue, again, one of my favorite books in the collection, and that is Invincible Iron Man. Ignore the sticker there. Invincible Iron Man. What is issue? Is this 53? No, sorry, 398. Legacy 398. Signed by Mike Grell and Ryan Odagawa, two creators on the book. So, thank you, Naman Hyung. This is an awesome book, and shout out to my homie Ryan Odagawa and the legendary Mike Grell. Just a great book. Yeah. Love it. Instant favorite of the collection. All right, so we're down to our last book on this particular list, the second tier of the top 60. So 40 through 21. We're down to the 21st book. And this one I actually have to kind of take out to show you. So earlier this year, during Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We had the just the privilege and pleasure of having on our program Alex Bustos, Alexandria. She's an artist up in Vancouver, Canada, and Hyung. After the interview, Hyung just gifted me a commission by her, and she asked, hey, what do you want? And of course, I was like, Psylocke, because she loves to do Asian American characters. That's what she collects. She collects like Asian American characters in comic books, or comic books that deal with like Asian American themes and subjects. Really talented and bright young lady. And I know she was in Seattle recently. I didn't have the opportunity to meet up with her, but I'm sure there'll be future opportunities to hang out. I definitely want to try to catch up with her if we ever make a trip out to Vancouver. Maybe just I don't know, meet up for coffee or something. But yeah, this is the book that she worked on, and I'm just going to warn you, it's just glorious. It's glorious. Age of X-Men Alpha. Look how the camera's reacting to it. The camera's just like, whoa. It's like, boom. Color. Beauty. So yeah, Psylocke just looking gorgeous. And there's the sakura blossoms falling. I love her signature, how she did it. Alex Bustos 23. Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, this is just, I really would love to have this book like in a slab, and it's got this like cover on it that covers it up. It's just like this, I don't know if it's a protective cover or what, but it's this thing attached to the book, which is all good. It's all good. It's just I don't take it out and look at it as often as I should. I'd love to do that more. But yeah, I have a picture of it, so I look at the picture from time to time. But it's a beautiful cover. So there you go, number 21 on the list of. And this again, it's a book we added to the collection. But these last ones, they're special because there's a real personal connection that I have with these books, because they're community members that contributed to the book, so or the artwork, and that's what makes them so special. And yeah, like we picked up a lot of great comic books, like things that we that are just like kind of mass produced type stuff. But when you get that kind of personal touch, whether it's a gift or a signature or original artwork, nothing beats that, the sentiment behind that. So yeah, thanks to all these wonderful people in the community. And yeah, that's it for the part 2. It was the end of part 2. And hope you liked the list of stuff Uh, Now we're gonna go down the top 20, probably in a week or so. A week from now, we'll cover the top 20 books, and these are all big books here, but the top 20 is not going to disappoint. So please tune in for that. It'll be the highlight of the year. We're trying to do it right right at year's end, and I'm going to combine it with. I'm going to pick up. So, FYI, I went over a haul yesterday, which is not the last haul of the year. Our last haul of the year is going to go right to the end of 2023, just like otaku style. So we are going to pick up books at Destiny City Comics on the 29th. Okay. And I'll share with you what we pick up there. And so we'll start off with a haul, and then we'll ease into the top 20 pickups of 2023, and we'll preview. We're going to preview what we're targeting in 2024. And yeah, that's how we'll end the year. All right, so I'm going to just continue to chat, and yeah, if you guys are in the chat and you want to say what you have planned for Christmas, or I guess Christmas traditions, favorite Christmas memory, feel free to let me know in the chat. It is a special time for a lot of people, so yeah, help me get in the Christmas mood, because I hasn't felt like Christmas at all this season. It's just been wet, and it's been warm too. It's been in the 40s and 50s. Even the last year it snowed. The last two Christmases here have snowed. But I don't. I mean, barring like a meteorological miracle, I don't think it'll snow for Christmas this year. But crossing our fingers for that. My favorite Christmas memory. I don't have a lot of great Christmas memories because, again, my parents they were not the most well-off people. And culturally, like, they just didn't put a lot of emphasis on Christmas. I mean, my parents were Christian, but the whole like ceremonial, like putting up the tree, the stockings, and all that, getting presents, that commercial aspect of the holiday, they never really got into. Not to say they didn't get into it. They tried. There were better years. Some years were better than others. But yeah, for the most part, we weren't showered with gifts. It just wasn't. We didn't have like a big Christmas dinner or anything like that. Christmas was just, hey, what's up? Epic Spider-Man stuff for Christmas back when it was super. Mark Bagley, yeah. Clone Saga. I hear you, dude. Good times back then. Yeah, the Clone Saga. People don't realize like that the Ben Riley. I'm really looking for. I hope they do bring Ben Riley as where they split. Like you have Peter Parker and you have Ben Riley. They're both, obviously, back in that run, Peter Parker was going through like some legal issues, right? He was being tried for crimes and stuff. But Ben Riley he kind of took over as Spider-Man, or the Scarlet Spider, and it was just good stuff. So I hope they somehow can bring that to the MCU, because I think it would work. I would think it would work really well as a movie if they explored that just that the whole clone saga. Um, they cloned Gwen Stacy too back then, right? Um, she came back for a stint as well. Those were good times. That's awesome. You got comic books for Christmas. I don't think my parents would have ever gotten me comics. Comic books were something I went out with my like the money I saved and got for myself. My parents never supported that kind of hobby. My mom did get me baseball cards and stuff because she knew I liked that a lot, but never comic books. So that's cool. But yeah, my favorite Christmas memory was probably like early on. I remember I was maybe 4 and my sister was 3. Um, and we were we were it was like evening, and my dad was gone, like out working, and it was evening, and then we heard something upstairs, and my mom's like, "Oh, that's Santa. You guys should go to bed." And we're like, "Santa Claus? Oh, okay." So we kind of snuck into our rooms and pretended to sleep. And actually, I think we fell asleep. Um, and I was kind of more intrigued than like, it was kind of more of like this, like, what's going on? Like, is there really somebody in our house, like, um, dropping presents off and stuff? So it was kind of like this intrigue. And then the next morning, we got all these like cool presents. And my mom's like, "Yeah, Santa came last night and dropped off the presents." Um, and I got a Snoopy snow cone machine, or maybe my sister got it. Well, that's something we. It was basically an ice shaver, but we did made a lot of Snoopy snow cones. Um, there was this like puppy where you pulled down the tail and it would run and like fetch this ball, like you would catch the ball in its mouth. And then there's like a Tonka truck. So those are like the big gifts from that Christmas. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like I think the most memorable Christmas that um, I can remember. I mean, it's always a special time because you're with your family, and we watch a lot of Christmas specials on TV. Uh, you know, the one that always the claymation one with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That was always fun. As you got older, there was like Mickey's Christmas Carol. That was good. Um, the Snoopy Christmas, that's always a tear jerker, right? Um, where they fix up the beat up tree to make it look a little nicer. Um, just needed some love, right? Good times on television. So yeah, uh, I do want to get back to the CGC stuff though, because I think it's going to impact the hobby, and we're just figuring out what's going on with uh, this whole reholdering. I call it reholder gate. So as you know, there are just some. we don't know how extensive this has been going on, but it's been going on as long as CGC has been reholdering as a service. So apparently it's been as far back as a decade. But what they do is they send in a book, it gets a high grade, 9.6 or 9.8, right? And what they do is first of all, they damage the case on purpose. And what they'll do is they'll pull out this inner sleeve on the book, somehow cut the book out, replace the book, and put it back in, and then send it in for reholdering because it's damaged, right? And you pay a small fee to have it reholdered because it's not getting graded, it's not undergoing any of that. So it's just a in and out kind of thing. It goes in, they dismantle the book, put it in a new sleeve, put it in a new holder, same grade, but with a new label. Pretty much just a new back end, just the back end process with the same information. And it goes back out. Census count remains the same. Okay, nothing's changed on the census. Now, what the person with the high grade book does is they resubmit that book as a new book, and it gets the high grade as well. So now you've got one graded book as a higher grade, and you've got one high grade book as its relative grade as well. And I would imagine the people that are doing this are keeping the high grade book and reselling the lower grade book to get the money to pay for whatever their nefarious agenda and activities warrant that money for. But yeah, that's a legitimate. It's a legitimate scheme. It's a legitimate scheme, and really, you can't blame them for doing it. They found a loophole in a system, and you can blame them. It's obviously their moral character that's in question. But CGC isn't helping matters with the process. So as of right now, I'm sure CGC is they are probably racking their brains on how to fix this issue. And when they do fix the issue, what it's going to mean for people, it's going to drive costs up because they have to put in all these protocols and steps and have a person there now, poring over the books or whether the case was tampered with or all that. I think it may even ultimately, drive up the cost of reholdering, unfortunately, to where it disincentivizes people to damage their books and go through that, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to drive up grading costs and all that. So here's my, I guess, the otaku, 2 cents. I am not going to use CGC or CBCS for grading. I'm just not going to do it. It was fun for the books I got, but I don't see the value in doing it anymore. Because before, the reason we wanted to get the 9.8 was because a 9.8 warranted significant upside in value. So for example, like, you own a book, it's like $30, but if it's 9.8, it's like 200, $300, right? For the same book. And that's really what you're gunning for. But given all this, and really because there's no transparency about what's a 9.8 and what's been tampered with, like as a collector, you can kind of review it and pour it, but do you have confidence, right? So if you don't have confidence in the grading, and that's really what the business and the brand is built on, right? Hey, we grade, you can trust our grading. These things, these have a market value, all that. But CGC basically crapped on all of that with this because of really uh, few bad apples. I should say just few bad people. Just because of a few bad people, um, and really sort of corporate greed on CGC's part, right? The whole Behold Ring nonsense. That just that lacks in. It's just basically a lack of oversight on their, just a lack of common sense on their part. Um, but yeah, like the fact that this was happening and we don't know how many books are affected. You probably don't, if you bought your 9.8 on eBay or something. I'm glad you think it's a 9.8, but there's no way to be sure unless you can grade it yourself or take it out and look at it, because there's a difference between looking at between two layers of plastic, 3 layers of plastic, and really like having the book in front of you, right? So this, I for one am not going to buy a 9.8 comic book for a 9.8 comic book price. I'll buy a 9.8 comic book for maybe a 9.0 price, because at least I can visually verify, yeah, it's a near mint copy from the surface level. But I'm not going to pay 9.8 prices for it because I just don't know, right? Like, am I going to trust the guy on eBay to be honest and transparent about the inventory? He may not even know where the book came from, right? He probably got it from a collector who got it from a collector, and like, there's no way to track uh, that movement. So I think my comment on Josh's comic book is still valid. This is going to kill 9.8 slab sales. It's going to kill it. That's a aspect of the hobby in and of itself, right? That grading, the high grade, near mid plus, um, like it's going to kill CGC's credibility. And ultimately, if no one believes a CGC 9.8 is a real 9.8, and if CBCS has the same issue, right? It's not like CBC. It's only a matter of time before we find out. Yeah, this has been going on at CBCS too, because they have essentially the same exact process, just different labels, different cases, right? I think this is going to really damage uh, the hobby's interest in getting things slabbed and graded. Maybe it'll flow over into trading cards as well, because I know it's happened in trading cards. The reason they changed the case in uh, for PSG slabs is the same stupid issue. People were kind of like finagling the case, putting in a different card, or teasing out the label and putting the label in one of their own like cases and making it out to be um, to look like it was a PSG graded, um, and so they had to make the label a lot more less counterfeit proof and really designed the case in a way where you couldn't, get anything out of the case. They had to do multiple iterations of the case to prevent people from doing that. I feel like that's where CGC is now. It's like, kind of like going back to the drawing board, and I don't think it's going to be one where they can easily recover. I think if people have to feel confident in the new process, and CGC has to make it easy for people to, if you have a questionable slab, to get the new reholdering without having to pay for it, um, so that they can do a recount of the census, because their census is jack crap right now. You know, it's jack crap. How can you trust those numbers now with all this finagling that's been going on? So, um, the hobby is not looking good right now, at least the slab market. Um, at the end of the day, I think we don't need slabs. We never did. Um, I think grading is still an important aspect of the hobby, but it's a skill set you should really, if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna do this hobby right, learn to grade, learn to grade well, and learn to be content with something that's acceptable to you. Okay. Find the grade that's acceptable to you. If you think, oh, 9/8, that's the only thing that's acceptable to me, and you're willing to pay that premium for it, by all means do that. But don't try to make that the standard of the hobby, because I just showed you a bunch of freaking books I picked up, 30 bucks for this, right? And I love it. It's preserved. Nothing wrong with that. It feels better than having paid $300 or $1,000 for a high grade copy. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's like what you're satisfied with. So if that makes you happy, by all means, go for perfection. But um, I think you just have to find what's acceptable to you. At the end of the day, it's your budget, it's your money, it's your time, it's your passion, um, and yeah, I think it's completely fine to own a book just to own the book. uh, the higher the grade, the better, obviously, but that's why I go with my Unmyeong process. Unmyeong, you take what you have in your pocket, you go out, and you spend what's in your pocket, and you pick up what you pick up. That's the otaku Unmyeong hunt method. And picked up a lot of great books. Yes, we do go on eBay. We don't buy slabs on eBay, but we buy raw books on eBay for a great price. I don't ever. I have paid, overpaid. Like I bought books where I paid $20. Okay, thinking it's at least VF near mint, and it's less than VF. Right? It's like lower than what we thought. So in that instance, yes, we overpaid. And that's why I don't like buying on eBay, because it's not transparent. You can look at photos all you want, but when you get the book in your hand, oftentimes it's, they're not forthcoming with all the little issues with the book. Um, so yeah, we don't, I will occasionally pick up a book or a card or something on eBay, but I try to limit that. And I really focus on the otaku hunts, which is going out, comic show, con, local LCS, half price books, and we just dig. We're just hunting. Um, and that's where I really, that's where I enjoy it. Now, I'm getting to a point where it's a space issue now, and we just, we can't pick up, and a budget issue too. Like, I've spent a lot on books, and luckily it's not a lot. It really is, but it adds up. You know, if you look at um, what I bought over the past 3 years, it's been a sizable amount, right? Of course, in terms of value, I picked up way more than that. I wish I could convince my wife of that. Like, hey, you know, I bought this book for $3, but it's a $30 book. And all she'll see is like, no, you spent $3 for a $3 book. Right? That's all she'll see. Um, she's like, why can't you sell any of this stuff? And that is a fair question. I have issues selling books. I'll sell a book here and there. I'll trade. I've traded some books, but for the most part, I haven't been successful in selling a lot of this stuff. First of all, I don't want to sell it, but um, it would be nice to sell some of the stuff that I'm currently looking to trade or get rid of, to sell all of it. Now, I could go sell it at the LCS and get probably less than what I actually paid for it. Um, or I can try to figure out a system where I can sell it. But the issue is, a lot of these books that I'm trying to sell, they're not high value books to begin with. They're maybe, you know, $10 books, maybe a couple $20 to $30 books there. But when you price in shipping and you do sell it for less or whatever, at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense to pay $10 for a $5 book, or pay $15 for a $10 book, or even $10 for a $15 book to have it shipped and all that. So you're actually only getting $5 plus paying the shipping. So it just doesn't make sense either on my end and on the buyer's end either, to do that whole process. So I'm trying to figure out a way, because to either sell maybe locally or trade with local collectors. I don't mind like giving up a crap load of books away, like volume for like one, a couple of like key books that I'm looking for. I'm not afraid to do that. It's just that's harder to think, organize, and put together than it sounds. So what we're gonna get into is like some of the books that, now this is just a random selection of books from my overflow case. I'm gonna try it this way, and obviously, if you're open to ask me what's in my vault, I probably will put out a sort of a more detailed. There's just so many comic books now. It's like every time I put out a, you know, what's available for trade, like list, it's an exhaustive process because I'm just literally going through like 100 and some odd books. So rather than do that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do them in like nice digestible, um, videos. In fact, I'm gonna end the stream here. We're gonna come right back. So Prime Survival, Nocturnal Miss So, Kenneth, if you guys are still watching, I'm just gonna end the stream. We're gonna start a new stream that I'm gonna title Books Available for Trade. So we'll see you in that one.